Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you. So I'm coming at you with some replays, not live games this time because these were played kind of in my spare time while I was just hanging out watching YouTube, and I ended up ranking up from Plat to Diamond pretty easily with my, honestly, just new favorite deck, potentially of all time, Mitsurugi. Yeah, I think Sprite is still going to be my favorite of all time, but honestly, I've been thinking about it, and Mitsurugi is definitely just a close second right now. Particularly Pure. You know, I've kind of thought about switching over to Ryziel, switching over to Branded, or at least like, you know, Fallen of the White Dragon with Mitsurugi, giving some of those variants a try again. But really, the Pure has just been the most fun and successful build for me. And as you can see here, yes, I did get the new alternate art for Murakumo. Very, very satisfied with that. So my build here is the same as last week, except there is one difference. I was on 41 cards and 3 Forbidden Crown. I just cut one of the 3 crowns down to 2 copies, and I'm at 40. I just happened to open both copies of Crown here, but yeah, it just felt better to be down to 40 cards. I do like Forbidden Crown quite a bit. I was kind of doubting it at the end of my last play session, but now that I've played with this build a little bit more, Crown I have found is very useful in scenarios like this, where your opponent has like turn 0 plays, and you can use Crown to negate those, and then it doesn't really matter that the monster is like unaffected or whatever, because it's turn 1 and that's fine anyway. Now here, I could have made Code Igniter instead of Dugaris if I wanted to summon out the Futsu no Mitama. However, I decided to try to draw some hand traps because I thought that there would be more impact from having a hand trap than from simply summoning Futsu no Mitama here. Plus, I'd already tributed Habakiri, so it's not like I would have gotten a search anyway. And as you saw, I did in fact top deck the Maxx, which I'll use here. So I would say that the Dugaris was pretty solid. Now, I know, some people tend to complain whenever I have any gameplay that features Maxx at all, but I do have multiple games coming up where I'll be the one playing through my opponent's Maxx. I just think it's really disingenuous to not ever show a game that has Maxx or Fuelos. This is a competitive Master Duel channel, and those are very much factors in competitive Master Duel. So rather than, you know, closing my eyes, stuffing my ears, and going la 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 and trying to pretend they don't exist, we're going to acknowledge that they are, in fact, parts of the metagame. Would I like it if Maxx was banned? Absolutely, but, you know, it's not like I can just pretend like it's a monster under my bed and like it doesn't exist or something. Anyway. Here we can summon out the Fidralis Harmonia. Gonna pop the Ecclesia, my opponent's just gonna summon one off the Fallen of White anyway. But they did use Nadir Servant, so it's not like they can summon from the extra deck at this point. And I'll cut them off from Fallen the Virtuous with the Ash Blossom here. Granted, they could still access it through the Albion that they dumped earlier. I think they also dumped Titaniclad or Rindabrum, something like that, one of the two. But they're going to concede anyway. We have a lot of cards in hand. We've managed to catch up on board, and there isn't really much of a way for them to come back from that. So, alright, that was a going first game, but now we're going to have mostly going second games, I think up until the very end, because I lost a lot of coin flips on this play session, but, you know, as mentioned, we were able to persevere nonetheless. Now here, my opponent has a Maxx, a Royal one nonetheless, so even though they didn't really have turn 1 plays, they could still very easily stop me with some hand traps that they top deck. Plus, I mean, if they're on Malice like their sleeves would indicate, you know, they could easily like March Hare summon and do some amount of turn 0 plays, or not turn 0 plays, but playing on my turn rather. But yeah, we get to go for the search here. I'm actually going to grab Saji and then normal summon it, because in this instance, I'm actually going to choose not to play through my opponent's Maxx, because they set one card and then passed on their first turn, right? That indicates to me that or at least they didn't have any live plays. Now, they've only seen 2 new cards, the card they drew off Maxx plus their draw for turn, which means it's still very unlikely that they are going to have plays here. And even if they do, we have multiple ways of stopping them. I did end up having to use my Great Purification on this Lightning Storm, but we still have Impulse, we still have Spark, we still have Super Poly, and yeah, my opponent didn't even find any more plays. So Oh yeah, they're just going to call the Black Goat Laughs with cross out, and I'll just move to battle phase and swing in for lethal. So yeah, whether or not I play through Maxx really ends up being situationally dependent. Here in this situation, you know, we had an opponent who clearly demonstrated they didn't have any plays, you know, any starters or whatever in their hand, so I felt very, very good about just not giving them any draws and not going for the OTK. However, if I was in a scenario where I felt my opponent could threaten me on the follow-up turn, then I'd be more inclined to push through the Maxx. All right, here we're going to be up against Odeon. That's beginning with Primite. You'll notice I didn't fire off my shifter right away. I will do it here when they summon the Labradite, just to make sure that the Ether Barrel hits the graveyard. But I wanted to see exactly what kind of a Primite deck it was. I guess to be fair, it was either going to be Odeon or Blue Eyes, right? Those are the two main Primite decks right now. And Shifter is pretty good. Well, it's mostly good against Blue Eyes. Here, though, I did use it against Odeon, not only to catch the Ether Barrel in the graveyard, but also the Drill Beam here as well. Or to banish it, rather, so that it wouldn't go to the graveyard. I'm going to Super Poly in response to the Drill Beam. That way I can ensure that my Saji will resolve here. I'll just fuse with their Labradite and make the Mud Dragon. Now we can add the Ritual, and again, their Drill Beam is going to get banished. Here they're going to preemptively activate an Apophis, a Swamp Deity, which definitely tells me that they have another copy to follow up with. So they do get to use that and negate my Mitsurugi Ritual here. However, I can tribute the Habakiri in my hand and go for the Wosu. They're going to end up conceding. For follow-up plays there, I could have, because I would have got the Habakiri search, I had Crown, Wosu. I could have gone for another Ritual, and then I could have Ritual summoned out the Murakumo from my deck, because I think I used the Ritual Summon from Hand effect here to try to summon the Habakiri from hand when they negated. So yeah, I still would have had plays even if they hadn't conceded there. I don't think I would have had lethal, but I would have been in a pretty good spot. All right, here we're going second against another opponent who's just going to set 3 and then pass. Here's another Maxx. This time, I do feel like a little more inclined to try to go for it. Mostly because I feel like I can OTK here while giving them very minimal amount of draws, given just how many ritual monsters and spells I already have in my hand. So we're going to begin with the Ritual, summoning out Murakumo from deck, tributing Futsuno Mitama from hand. There's one draw. Futsuno Mitama is going to activate. They're going to use Called By. I'm going to chain Murakumo's effect, which will deny them a card from hand, but they're actually going to chain Droplet on the Murakumo. And this is all completely fine with me, because now I've played through 2 of their 3 face-down cards, and only given them 1 draw so far, and I can definitely still lethal here, while giving them, I think, just 2 or 3 more draws. I think 2? We're going to mirror... No, I think it is 3, because we're going to mirror Tribute Murakumo. That'll summon out another Murakumo. That'll give them 1 draw. No, it is 2 more draws, yeah, because we go Murakumo, add Kusanagi, revive, and then we can normal summon Kusanagi, and this is exactly 8,000 damage on board. So I'm like, okay, I've already played through 2 face downs, they've only gotten 3 draws, but unfortunately for me, one of their 2 remaining face down cards was Super Poly, which is hugely devastating. They simply fuse away my 2 Murakumos, making the Starving Venom, and I'm just going to concede. Technically, I wasn't beat yet. I could have just set my Super Poly and then pass, but I was like, I'm probably not going to win. I'll just surrender here. Yeah, I don't know. I probably should have played through it, tried to play through their next turn for the sake of content, if nothing else. But we were close. We were very close there. If they didn't have Super Poly face down, I think we would have had it. All right, so here my opponent's going to play Chicken Game, set 1 card, and then pass. This game will be me showing you an OTK through the Droll and Lockbird. Droll, a lot of the time, is even worse than something like Maxx or Fuelos from Mitsurugi. Well, definitely it's worse than Fuelos, but Maxx and Droll are about the same. Definitely got to get rid of their Chicken Game, so that way they will, of course, take the damage here, but... we already have, again, multiple ritual monsters and spells in our opening hand, so I can go for Ritual, summoning the Murakumo from deck. Now, or was that from hand? I actually don't remember. But now I can add back, that's right, and then we're going to Habakiri, summon out the Wosu, tribute it, discard, add back to hand. Now I can Ritual, summon from deck. Okay, so that was from hand. That's what I thought. So now we can summon from deck, and we're going to pull out the Futsu no Mitama. Now we can go Mirror. We're going to tribute the Wosu that we added back, that we summoned off Habakiri, and now we can summon out the Habakiri from the graveyard. Now we normal summon Aramasa, giving us over 8k damage. However, here they're going to have Dracatail Horn. They're going to try to bounce my Murakumo. I will end up forcing them to discard in order to let that resolve. So unfortunately, we miss lethal. However, we do still have the Futsu no Mitama. We're going to link Aramasa plus Habakiri into IP, and then we can still set the Forbidden Crown here as well. They're going into a 3-card hand where they already didn't have live plays here. And sure enough, it seems like all they have is the one Malulu before they pass. That's brutal. They truly did not have a single other monster besides Malulu for a Dracatail deck. I don't even know what the odds of that would be, but they had to have been holding like all of their other irrelevant spell or trap cards. I don't even know there. All right, I think we have one more game before we finish off, before we go to the deck list, and then we'll finish off. And that's actually going to be against Elf Note. They're going to do some turn 0 shenanigans here, dumping Tinia for Regina. But again, this Forbidden Crown is so good against turn 0 plays. I can just crown the Regina, and now not only can they not summon from the deck here, but for their their follow-up plays on their turn, the Regina's already going to be occupying the middle main monster zone. So if they're trying to start their plays with like a Tinia or Lucina, they're not going to be able to do that now. I guess they could tribute summon, but that would be fine with me. Alright, so here we're just going to go for the Ritual, summoning out the Habakiri, and then of course we're dumping Aramasa and Kusanagi from deck in order to do that. Really like opening Lamia here, because then I can just normal summon it and still get a search, while also searching off Aramasa. That's why you play, or at least that's why I play Lamia instead of a third Aramasa. I recently responded to a comment asking me about that, and yeah, this is exactly why. I mean, it is also a budget thing. Like, of course, Aramasa is a UR, Lamia is just normal rarity, but I think even if Aramasa was an SR, or like, not a UR, I think I would still probably just be playing Lamia before the third Aramasa. Alright, here is the Murakumo. Off the mirror, now Futsu no Mitama gets to add prayers and then revive. And here I am actually going to activate the prayers on my turn 1. Because it'll get me an extra level 4 body, which will let me go into Dugaris. We can chain block the Murakumo with the Mitsurugi Mirror. Revive, and we can search Magatama. If I wasn't playing Magatama, I'd probably just hang on to my prayers. But Magatama is another disruption that you can search. Yeah, I already searched Wosu, so at this point Lamia is just going to grab like another Murakumo for potential follow-up. We'll summon out the Dugaris. We'll go Dugaris F. Draw 2, discard 1. I can just discard the Aramasa because I won't be needing that. Now we can link off the Dugaris and the Habakiri into IP Masquerena. We'll set 4 and then say go. Very, very productive turn 1. And if our opponent didn't have Regina, we'd also have a Forbidden Crown face down. Now here my opponent did have Super Poly, which was brutal. And this is definitely one of the scenarios where you would much rather have prayers than the Magatama, because if I had prayers, I could revive either Futsu no Mitama or Murakumo or something here. Yeah, I tried to spark the Elf Note Power Patron, but totally didn't even think about the fact that they could sync with the Garura to still make the Seraphim Strelitzia. So I really should have just waited on the Dominus Spark here. I misplayed that a little bit. Well, not even a little bit, I misplayed it a lot of it. But they're going to add Tinia. I'm going to go for Super Poly here. We can fuse away the Elf Note Power Patron and the Seraphim Strelitzia to summon out Mud Dragon. Now they're going to switch to attack mode, and I went to activate IP, but then I realized, wait a second, I can't use Little Knight to banish Regina, otherwise they can just summon Tinia. Now, if I hadn't have misplayed Spark earlier, then I could have banished Regina here, then they special summon Tinia, and then I Spark banish it. But here I have to let them battle over the Little Knight. And really funny, they actually conceded before I even made a play. Yeah, I think they forgot that my draw phase was skipped by Dugaris, and they ended up conceding early, which was a really funny way to rank up into Diamond. Fun fact, that was my rank up game. So, GG's all the same, opponents. But yeah, as you can see, it's just the same pure Mitsurugi build that I was playing here on the channel last week. I simply took out the third Forbidden Crown to go down to 40 cards, and from 3 to 2 Crown. I think 3 Crown was a bit excessive. Crown can be a little bit situational as far as when it's actually useful sometimes, but I did really, really like having it for the turn 0 plays, as you saw in these games here. Yeah, I mean, like I said, like, I know that every now and then I'll put up, you know, a video where I'm like, is this my new favorite deck? But, like, I think this is the first time I've really had a deck that felt like it could rival Sprite as my favorite deck of all time. Pure Mitsurugi is just so much fun. There's so many different ways to play it. And while I think arguably Ryziel Mitsurugi is just more powerful, I just have a lot more fun with the flexibility of pure Mitsurugi. The flexibility in terms of all the different kinds of off engine you get to play, as well as just the flexibility in terms of like the gameplay itself too, right? But yeah, I love that in this deck I can play Vidralis Harmonia and Super Poly and Forbidden Crown and Dominus Impulse and Dominus Spark without any huge confliction like at all. And if I really wanted to, I could cut either Harmonia or Super Poly and play Fallen and the Virtuous. But I gotta say, I think if I was going to play the Fallen and the Virtuous over anything, it would probably be Forbidden Crown. So if I wanted to make room in the extra deck for Albion and Ecclesia, what I would end up cutting is the favorite hero Flame Wingman, and probably Psychic End Punisher, or Cyframe Lord Omega. I think it'd be Omega. I might actually try that here in the near future, but that'll be for another video. In the meantime, thanks so much for watching. Gonna sign out here, but before we do, let's move on to the outro. That way we can thank our YouTube members and Patreon subscribers. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which by the way is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go ahead and hit that join button to see content early, as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.